All right, guys, today we're going to talk about a new poetry type. So hopefully you have either your poetry packet nearby or a scratch piece of paper so you can do some of this work. And I also want to start before we actually get into the poetry type is just to continue to tell you a little bit about some elements of poetry. So the element of poetry that we're going to talk about today is imagery. So imagery is basically, before you read all this text, imagery is really, in a nutshell, you're already probably doing it, you just don't even realize it, but in poetry it's really intentional because you want to help paint a picture for the reader. So it says, an image is a picture. Good writers use imagery to paint pictures with their words in the reader's mind. When poems are well written, your sense of sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing are affected. Great writers choose words that create imagery in the reader's mind. So instead of saying the ocean was big, you could obviously tell absolutely everything that there is about the ocean. You could say something about the crashing waves, the big blue, the expansive blue water. You could talk about how crystal clear it is on the top. There's something that you're doing that's helping to paint a picture of that particular poem idea that you're writing about. So today we are, okay, and now I remember why I did this. So we are also, I want to remind you of simile and metaphor because today's poetry lesson is going to need to use them a lot. So you're mostly actually going to use similes, but I want to remind you of what that means. A simile is really just comparing something together, but it specifically uses the words like or as. So when you are comparing something and you use like something is as big as or like a, then you are using a simile. So this one said she swims like a fish. Obviously she's not a fish, but she swims as fast as one. And he is sly as a fox. This shows that he is cunning and he is very much like a fox. So they used the words like or as. We have that other kind of figurative language we talked about last week, which is a metaphor, which is basically the same thing. You're still comparing it, but you don't use like or as. So that time these two words are out. Hiccups. So it says he is a giant. Well, he's not actually a giant, but it's like he is one. And then her eyes were I have the hiccups. His eyes were sparklers in the night. Clearly, that's not what. That's not what we would think that he was. So this week your poetry type is a color poem, and I really like colors. You should definitely choose the color that instantly you think of when somebody asks you what's your favorite color. I'll be honest, I started with turquoise earlier when I did my own, and turquoise was kind of hard, so I also chose it only because it's Miss Mahendran's favorite color. It's not actually mine. So the one that I chose is not also my favorite color, but I could think of a lot of really great things to go along with it. So a color poem is just exactly what you're thinking that it is. It is basically something that you think of, everything that you can think of that matches that color, and you're going to kind of write it in poetry style. So it says color poems use your imagination and your senses. So we're going to use our senses today, and we are also going to use some similes today. So it says you use your senses to investigate a subject. The focus of the poem is on using similes and metaphors. Similes compare two unlike things using words like or as. For example, the lake is like a whirlpool. Metaphors are like similes without using the word like or as. They state that one thing is something else. So an example would just be the lake is a whirlpool. So rather than saying that it's like a whirlpool, this time they just said that that's exactly what it is. Okay? So I'm going to read to you their example that came in my packet, and then I'll also read you one that I wrote about the color pink. So this says, blue is the color of the sky. Blue is the waves in the ocean crashing against the shore. Blue is the feeling I get sometimes when I'm sad. Blue is the icy color of glacial, snowy mountain peaks. Blue smells like freshly washed bed sheets. Blue tastes like blueberry Kool-Aid on a hot summer day. Blue sounds like jets soaring through the clouds. Blue looks like the clear waters of the Hawaiian waters as I'm snorkeling. Blue feels like the snow on my face while I'm skiing at Mount Bachelor. Blue makes me want to put on my coat, hat, and gloves. Blue is my favorite color. So a couple things I want you to notice. They started every line of this poem with the word blue, which is exactly what I would like you to do. And then I also want you to notice that most of the time this author wrote the word like. So a lot of the times they told you what it's like, but they didn't always use it. So they try to mix it up a little bit. My poem's a bit shorter, and I used the word as well as like, but I really like this. So my suggestion to you today before you start is to write whatever your color is. So example, I told you mine was pink. And then you just want to write down the actual subjects of all the things that you think of when you think of your color. So for example, if I was talking about pink, you know, I could say like pigs. My cheeks are also really, really pink. I always think of a sunburn, looks really pink. So if I write down some of these main words that I'm thinking of, that might then help me incorporate it into a poem style. So let's look at my example before I show you. So mine says, pink is the color of a happy Valentine's Day. Pink is a falling sunset on the beach. Pink is girly, like a makeup tote full of cosmetics. Pink is the crown at the bottom of the toy chest. Pink tastes like fluffy cotton candy at the fair. Pink smells like a beautiful tulip growing in the garden. Pink sounds like a sweet, peaceful song on the radio. Pink feels like a silky, soft pillow on the couch. Pink looks like a big bad sunburn. Pink makes me think of a pen full of pigs. Pink is my flushed cheeks. So I want to remind you that I started every word of my poem with pink. And then I want to show you kind of what I did. So I tried, like I told you earlier, I wrote down my list of all the things that I think of for pink. But there are times where I used like, and it looks like I didn't use as like I thought I had. But what I also did is I used some of those sense words. So I asked myself, what does the color pink taste, smell, sound, feel, and look like? And so that might help you come up with some lines of your poem as well. You'll notice I'm not telling you at all how long it needs to be or how short it needs to be. I want you just to have some fun and tell me all about your favorite color. So this is the page that's in your packet, or if you don't have a packet, you could pause the video when we're all done on here so you can kind of see what it is we were looking for. And this is where you would enter in the name of your color. Blue, yellow, pink, green, whatever. And then this is where you're just trying to start to think of what you could do for your poetry style. If I were you, off to the side somewhere, or maybe on the back of this paper, or on scratch paper, I would maybe first write down my color. So if I was going to choose yellow, I might think of the sun. I might think of sand. I might think of, I don't know, a Twinkie? I don't know. I can't think today. And I would just try to write down all the things that I think of when I think of that color. And then maybe I could try to figure out the smell, taste, sound, look, and feel, and how it makes me maybe feel. So anyway, I hope you have some fun, and I hope you remember to share your poem either through Flipgrid. You can share your poem on our Zoom calls, or you can always share your poem to your family. Okay? You don't need to email them to me, but if you want to, that's totally fine. Have fun!